Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the British Eagle, and today we are diving, flying, soaring into something that we don't typically do here on the channel, and that is review movies. I'm not getting into this. I just wanted to do this for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, because it means a lot to me. Star Wars means a lot to me in general, and I just got done seeing the movie about an hour and a half ago, and these are kind of my first reactions, my first thoughts to the movie. And yeah, so we're going to get into this. Couple things before we do. This is going to be full of spoilers. So I am going to talk about what happened in the movie, my thoughts, my original ideas on why certain things happen. So you are warned. Spoiler. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Said it a couple times. 3, 2, 1, let's go. So first thing I want to say is that I really like this movie. Not everybody's going to agree with me, and I totally understand that. And everybody has the right to their own opinion of this movie. My opinion is I liked it. I thought it was good. I felt like there were a lot of things that they did really well in the movie. They captured some of the old school stuff with some of the new school, and it was just, I thought it was just really well done. I felt like the fight scenes were really good. I felt like the way they had Rey and Kylo Ren fight. By the way, the image here looks insanely good. I love the artwork for this movie. It's incredible. Super pumped to look at this. That's why I had this on the background. I don't typically do these kind of videos. I usually am playing a video game right now, so I'm really not sure how to do this, but I'm giving it a shot. The background image just looks incredible, so I wanted to use the layout for this. But anyway, getting back to the movie, really liked it. I thought it was a really good movie. I am really glad I got to see it tonight. It's only been out within the last 24 hours, so I figured I'd give you guys a reaction video on just my thoughts right after it came out in the theaters. But anyway, I've already said that. We'll move on. So the first thing I wanted to talk about in this movie that I really did like is kind of what we were just talking about with Rey and Kylo Ren. The fighting was so good. I was very pleased to see that they had progressed in their training. Throughout the movie, it was very, very obvious that they have been training since the last movie, and they've gotten both significantly better. You could see with Rey, she was much more focused with the Force. She was much more confident. You could see that when she was levitating with the rocks floating around her in this like consistent pattern, and it was just incredible to see her focus there. For Luke, if you go back to the old movies, it took him a long time for him to really grasp the focus with the Force. So for her to do that was pretty incredible. And it was just cool to see that scene where she's floating with these rocks flying around her. It was just really cool. Kylo Ren, on the other hand, you could tell the significance in his strength was increased, or you could tell the increase in his strength was significant because one key scene stood out to me, and it was where he's in the room. And I think it's when he's telling General Hux, he's talking to his like commanders, and he says, General Hux, you know, you seem nervous, there's something off. And one of the people across the room from Hux says something about, you know, Supreme Leader Ren, you know, are you sure we can trust Palpatine? Because obviously Palpatine's back in this movie. And he says something about, he starts talking about how, what are we getting from Palpatine? Why are you agreeing to this? And he immediately uses the Force and lifts him up. And what I found interesting was that when he did that, most of the time when they use the Force, and by the way, I want to preface this before I continue, I am not flawless when it comes to information on Star Wars. This is just my opinion. Please take it with a grain of salt. This is just what I think and feel. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that can correct me on Star Wars and the lore and everything about this. But getting back to what I was saying, there's a moment where he uses the Force to raise the general up into the ceiling. And he not only raises, he doesn't raise slowly and his body lifts, he goes right out of his seat and just flies up to the ceiling. And he sticks there hard. And what I found interesting about that scene was that you could tell his powers were increased since the last movie because he didn't have to hold the guy there. He wasn't like shaking and like using the Force. He literally lifted him and then went on with the conversation. And I don't remember the guy dropping, so it's not like he released him from the Force. So his strength was good enough to lift a guy completely flat to the ceiling. His arms and legs weren't dangling, completely flat, and he didn't have to hold it. Like, that to me right there, as soon as that happened in the movie, I was like, oh, okay. He's clearly gained a lot more strength, and he's gotten more focused with the Force, which is good to see. The other thing, too, was sticking with their power. In the fight scene on the Death Star outside when there's water and there's rain and it's just all over the place, The jumping by Rey was incredible. She was jumping like Obi-Wan was in the first movie, where he's jumping through all these different floors when he's trying to get back to fight Darth Maul. But Rey just did it so flawlessly. It looked really clean, in my opinion. And that same fight, just the two of them, their lightsaber skills were just so much better. If you go back and watch The Force Awakens, and again, they're both very, they've had barely any training at that point in that last movie, or the seventh movie. But you could see the difference. They both held the lightsaber very firm. You could see they had full control of it. They understood their movements, the footwork, just the way they were able to dodge, and just the two of them clearly had done really good job with training in the Force. So yeah, really enjoyed that. I thought that was awesome. While we're talking about training, the other thing I really liked about this movie was they definitely went a little old school and brought back, obviously Leia was in this movie, but they brought up Luke and Leia quite a lot in this movie, which I really felt like that made sense. But there was a scene that really stuck out to me that was incredible, and I'm so glad they did this. I love the scene where Luke and Leia were training. They used CGI graphics to make it look like the younger versions of them. But like Luke and Leia are in the forest training, and they each have a lightsaber, one green, one blue, and they're literally fighting. It's insane. It's everything I wanted to see. I wanted to see something like that, and it was perfect. I was super happy to see that. They were training, I guess, after the end of the sixth movie, and I guess he was trying to teach her how to use a lightsaber. She got her own lightsaber, and they trained a lot, and then she stopped because of the fact that she was able to sense in the Force that her son would go to the dark side. I think that's what it was. I'm trying to remember all of it. Again, just saw it one time about an hour ago, so I'm still trying to recollect all my thoughts here with this, but I got that from what we were just talking about with Rey and Kylo training. That training part was fantastic. The other thing that I really liked about this movie, and I feel like this has gotten some hate from a lot of Star Wars fans, not all, but a decent chunk, expanding on the Force powers. So one thing I noticed before I watched this movie was that a lot of people didn't really like the whole, in episode 7, and I think even in episode in episode 8, and I think even in 7, Kylo Ren and Rey were able to talk to each other through the Force. And it happened again in this movie where Rey had these beads around her neck, and he was able to snatch them, and they weren't in the same room. It was just through the Force. I'm okay with that. And a lot of people didn't like it. They were like, well, wait, how does that make sense? He can touch her when he's not even like there. Like why doesn't he just kill her when he's not in the same room? There was a lot of comments that I saw on Twitter and all over YouTube and stuff. And honestly, I'm okay with them expanding the Force. The thing that I don't want to see is I don't want there to just be one thing with the Force and that's it. What we've always learned, or what I've always understood with the Force, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Force is all around us. It's all through living things, right? And so with it being that intense and that large, it's all over, it's everywhere. The Force shouldn't be limited, right? So the Force shouldn't just be that I can pull a lightsaber to my hand, catch it, and then fight someone with it, the lightsaber. I'm okay with them having this unique ability that we didn't really see much before, if ever, where the two of them are communicating and they're able to have a lightsaber battle when they're on two different planets. Like, I love the open-mindedness of them exploring something new with the Force. I thought that was really cool. I wanted to bring that up because, again, it wasn't that everybody hated it, but I did see a lot of comments that were like, oh, this is weird. They shouldn't have brought this in. This doesn't make any sense. And that's okay. Like, it's not meant to make complete sense. It's just meant to be different, and I like the approach they took. Another cool thing that I really liked in this movie was the throwback to the old movies. So two things that really stuck out for me. Luke raising the X-Wing out of the water from the first Jedi Temple, the sea around the first Jedi Temple where Rey is. And when he raised the X-Wing out of the water, sorry, let me backtrack. When I saw him when something was coming out of the water, you immediately knew it was the X-Wing. To see Luke raise it out of the water was cool, because that's a throwback to when he was trying to raise the X-Wing out of the water when it was sinking in the swamps in I think it was the fifth movie, the fourth or fifth movie. I forget which one it is, but Yoda's teaching him how to use the Force, and he's trying to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp. So it was really cool to see him do that in this movie, and he uses his Force powers. He gets her the X-Wing out of the water, and she flies it, and she puts on the helmet too that Luke wore. It was just it was perfect. I really like that. And then the other thing too is a throwback is the end of the movie. She goes back to Luke's home planet and the site where he, or the, not the site, the home where he lived with his aunt and uncle at the beginning of the fourth movie. That was really cool to go back there. And that's where she buried Luke and Leia's lightsaber out of respect for them. It was just, man, those two scenes, the one with the X-Wing and burying the lightsabers, was just insanely cool. It was a nice throwback to the old movies, to go back to where Luke grew up, bury the lightsabers. She even toured around his home a little bit. She didn't do too much, but she slid down to the bottom. She kind of looked around the middle section, looked in a room, and then buried the lightsabers and looked out into the sun, just like Luke did with in the fourth movie. Sorry. But no, I just thought that was really cool. They did a really nice job kind of just closing the book on this 9-movie series. So it was really cool. Okay, so at this point in the video, we've talked about a lot of the positives. Obviously, lightsaber fights are really cool, but I do want to talk about some of the things that were a little confusing that I still need help understanding. So hopefully you all can help me with this. Can we talk about why Rey and Kylo kissed? I'm really not sure I understood that. So I get it, right? Like, Rey saved Kylo. When she stabbed him, she healed him because she realized that she didn't want to lose him and that, they have a bond and a strong connection in the Force. That's great. She loses to, or she didn't lose to Palpatine, but she lost all of her life and energy when she deflected the lightning from Palpatine. She dies, and Kylo Ren comes over and uses his Force to revive her. Not only does he die, but like right before he dies, they're like looking at each other, and my thought was, cool, they're gonna hug because they're like rivals. They're more like a brother-sister friendship, not a lover. And so they're staring at each other. She looks like she's about to cry. He looks like he's like, yes, I finally am back to the light side. I am Ben Skywalker, or Ben Solo, sorry. I am like, well, I guess he's part Skywalker, but whatever. He's Skywalker Solo, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, no, like, he's sitting there and he's like, oh, I saved her, blah, blah, blah. And then they kiss. And I didn't understand that. It, to me, and again, maybe I'm wrong in this, but I never really got the sense that they were like lovers. It always seemed to me like they were rivals. They were brother and sister. They were just they were competing with each other. It never seemed like, oh, you know what, they're gonna kiss. Like, I don't know, I didn't really get that. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. I really didn't understand the logic behind that. And that leads me to the other thing that I'm not really sure I understand. Speaking of like lovers, confusion, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. My confusion between two people I thought were quote unquote lovers was Rey and Finn. Like, I know it's obvious because of the way they have their connection through the movies and they helped each other and they cared for each other. I didn't see that as just a friendship. Finn, at one part in the movie, they're sinking and they're sinking into the sand. They think it's quicksand. They think they're gonna die. And Finn says something to Rey like, Rey, I've always, and then they sink through. Or I don't think those are the exact words, but it's something like he's about to tell her like, I'll always love you or something like that. And they sink through, and Rey's like, they fall to this pit, and they fall through the sand. They go into this mine underground or whatever. She goes, hey, what were you going to say? And he's like, I'll tell you later when Poe's not around. And the idea behind that was obviously he was going to say, I love you. But, like, he never does in the rest of the movie. And, like, they literally never talk about it again. And that's fine. Some things don't need to have an actual, like, it doesn't need to always be said. But something like this, I felt like needed to be said. And it just kind of was odd that nothing ever came from it. I don't know. It was weird. Like, I don't understand throwing that into the movie and never addressing it. Like, that's just, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. I just thought it was strange that they kind of, they started it and kind of built something there by, like, him showing his love for her. And again, it could have just been a best friend thing. Like, oh, I love you. Like, we'll always be friends. But I don't know, I kind of felt like there was something there, but maybe there isn't. But that's kind of just my thought on that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. So, okay, so we talked about that stuff. So now the other thing that I was kind of so we talked about the kissing and the lovers. I thought they were lovers, maybe they're just friends. Um so I guess I don't know how to feel about Rey being Palpatine's granddaughter. So it's not a terrible thing, and obviously the obvious answer was before the movie came out, people were guessing she is a Skywalker. She's definitely related to Luke and Leia somehow, some way, or maybe she's the sister of Ben or something. I don't know. Um, I'm just not sure how to feel about the Palpatine thing. So they say in this movie that Palpatine had a son. Never was mentioned before. I don't remember him being mentioned. And I've watched Rebels, I've watched Clone Wars. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm talking about the animated shows. I don't remember that being mentioned. Maybe I missed something. Again, correct me. I'm not a Jedi Master, only a Padawan learner. But I don't know. It seemed odd that he was just like, oh, hey guys, by the way, I've got a son. And oh, my son happens to have created the one Jedi who can take me down. Like, it just seemed rushed, in my opinion. And I don't have any feelings towards the parents that died because there's no background story. So I'll give you an example, right? So the parents I care about in a big movie chain or a big movie series like this is Harry Potter's parents, right? So you get a lot of history about his mom and dad, Harry Potter's mom and dad, and how they were when they were at Hogwarts. How Harry's dad treated Snape, and how just Harry's relationship with his parents, and what, obviously he was a kid, but they kind of talk throughout the movies. You get to learn more about their past, the love that she had, protected Harry, etc., etc. So you build this kind of, while you don't learn about everything about them, and they're not in every single movie where you're getting a full background in every single movie. They pop in here or there, they're mentioned. Some movies they are a big part of it, some they're not. But like, I had a bigger connection to them because they were at least talked about. It was constantly brought up. So to bring up Palpatine's son and his daughter-in-law and just say, oh, I had a son and you're their offspring. It's just kind of like, okay, like, that's fine. And look, I don't hate it. I think it's cool. When she shot lightning out of her hands and destroyed the ship they thought Chewbacca was in, that was so dope. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Like, I was freaking out. I thought it was so cool. But I don't know, it just feels rushed. Like, I does feel like I wish they had I'll be honest, I wish there was a better way they could have explained her being force sensitive, right? Like, I wish, and I don't know what that way could have been. I wish I had an answer for you. I really don't have a strategy in my own head as to how they could have done it, but I mean, at one point I was even suggesting maybe she's just a clone, kind of like Star Killer from the Star Wars what is the name of those video games? Oh my gosh, can't think of the name, but Star Killer in those video games, the my gosh, what is the name of the video game? So the movies were The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2. So Star Killer is a clone, from my understanding of that game. I didn't complete both of them, but I did play them. So I thought maybe Rey was a clone, and that would have just explained what happened. Maybe they talk about the clone thing with Star Killer. I know that was a bit of a big stretch, but I thought maybe that would be it. But I don't know, it just felt rushed. It just felt like they wanted to explain her lineage somehow, and they just picked Palpatine and said, yeah, he had a son. He wasn't relevant in any of the movies or any of the anime, but he had a son. I'm like, that's my only complaint with this, was that it felt rushed. I didn't hate it. Again, I think it's cool. She shot lightning. She was related to somebody. We at least got that. So that's kind of cool, but it just felt very rushed in my opinion. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me and you love that. I'm not saying it's bad. That's just my opinion. So to end this video off, and I'm sorry if it's been a super long video, but I just kind of wanted to put this out there because I really wanted to talk about my feelings of this movie, what I thought about it, and how I felt the positives and the negatives were, and what I thought about them. But the last thing I really kind of want to stick to here, because I could go on and on about this movie for a long time, I really enjoyed it, is that I feel like this needs to end. Look, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I've been going to the movies with my dad for the last 8 movies in a row now, dating back to 1999 for The Phantom Menace. And don't get me wrong, wow, my eyes look really red. I'm sorry. I'm super tired. I've had a long day. I've been going to the movies with my dad since 1999 to see all of these Star Wars movies, except for the original 3 because I wasn't born back when those movies were out. So we've seen 8 movies in a row, and it's been a phenomenal experience, great memories me and my dad have of going to all these movies, riding back in the car from the movies and talking about like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? This is awesome. Doing the Chewy thing, but I feel like it needs to come to an end. I've heard small discussions about another trilogy, and if they do that, that's fine. Just make your own kind of original content. Don't don't build off of this. Don't add another movie for Rey and Finn. I feel like that's it. She buried the lightsabers. She went to Luke's old home. Luke and Leia showed up as Force ghosts. She calls herself a Skywalker, and that's great. I love that. That's really cool how they did this. I think the movie was really well done, but I don't. All great things have to come to an end. And as sad as that is to say, because I've loved everything about Star Wars except Jar Jar Binks, not going to get started on that discussion, but I've loved everything about Star Wars. And the last thing I want to do is continue something that just feels like it's done. It's ready. It's time. Keep coming out with, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan movie, whatever other movies. Maybe do a Qui-Gon Jinn movie back when he was learning from Count Dooku or something. But I really feel like it needs to end. That's the one thing I would say is at some point the series has to end. You can't build on top of it. I'm not trying to be negative. Look, if they come out with more, me and my dad will go watch them. I'm not going to complain about more Star Wars, but I think it's ended. I think this series, this saga has ended. If you want to keep it going, go into a new era, talk about something else. There's so much in the Star Wars lore that you could dive into. I mean, you've got the Knights of the Old Republic. You've got so many different things. You could talk about Darth Plagueis. You could make a movie about him. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would love to see that. His trials and tribulations of his mental trials and tribulations of what he goes through after defeating Anakin, and leaving him to just kind of melt in the lava and going to watch over Luke Skywalker. Like, that would be great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I understand that I think the movie's going to come out at some point in the next couple of years, but just don't continue the Rey thing. It's not that I don't like her. She's awesome. Finn's awesome. Poe Dameron's cool. Bach still around and stuff, but like that saga needs to end. So that's my only thing with that. The final thing I'm going to say before I wrap up this little video here is shout out to my dad. He has been a trooper. He has been awesome to go watch these movies with. We have been to Rogue One, Han Solo, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. And it's been a blast, and I really appreciate him going with me. Star Wars has been just such a big part of my life. It's been very nostalgic to go see these movies and see old actors and some of the new actors too. It's been kind of cool too. But I can't thank him enough for being awesome and just kind of going with me to these movies, being kind of the guy I can always talk to about these movies. So shout out to you, Dad. I appreciate the love and support you've given me with this wonderful franchise of Star Wars. And he actually was the one who introduced me to it. So I thank him for bringing this into my life. I don't know where I'd be without Star Wars. But no, it's been an incredible journey. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching every movie with him at the theaters. It's been 20 years. I'm getting old. It's been 20 years. And I've enjoyed every part of it. Again, except for Jar Jar Binks. You can just walk off a cliff. I don't need you in my life. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section what you guys thought. What are your thoughts and opinions of this? Do you agree with me? Do you agree? I'd love to hear what you all think of this. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little different video compared to me just playing video games. I figured it'd be cool to get my thoughts and opinions out there about this movie. The other thing, too, is my opinions may change. This is an hour and a half, almost 2 hours after the movie ended that I just watched in the theaters. I still haven't seen anyone else's reactions. I haven't seen anyone else's opinions. I've kept away from spoilers completely. So maybe my opinion will change. But as of this moment, what I've said in this video is what I think right now. Man, I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. I need to clearly go get some sleep. But let me know, like I said in the comment section, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this movie. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, why, and yeah, don't forget in the description down below, I've got my Discord channel. If you want to be a Patreon and be a Keyblade wielder, you can check that out too. I've got my Twitter, follow me there. And don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are not already subscribed, let me know if you want to see more of these type of videos. I'd be interested to do them. I do love movies. It is one of my favorite things to do in the world is watch movies, but I'm not educated in judging movies that great. I guess who really is, honestly, but yeah, I'm very, very happy with how this has ended. But that's it. Yeah, so continue to spread those positive vibes, as I always say. And I will catch you all next time. Have a great rest of your day. And, may the force be with you. I'm out. Peace.